The University of Glasgow is being accused of silencing a debate on fracking after it restricted online access to one of its emeritus professors. David Smythe, who is a strong opponent of the shale gas industry, was removed from the institution's academic database days after he posted a critique on the safety of fracking here in the UK. He submitted several objections to exploration sites in England and has acted as an expert witness for community groups opposing plans in local areas. Now believing that his freedom of expression has been restricted, the professor is seeking legal advice to find out whether his retirement agreement has been breached. Well, RT contacted the University of Glasgow for a statement.
Professor Smythe's email access was terminated earlier this year as part of a routine review of email accounts in the School of Geographical and Earth Sciences. Professor Smythe left the university in 1998, and while he retains the title of Emeritus Professor, he has no continuing practical association with the work of the university.
Well, I'm now joined live by the Emeritus Professor himself, David Smythe. Professor, evening to you.
Good evening.
Well, we just had a statement there from the university, and it hasn't mentioned anything about the fact you have the stance on fracking. So what makes you believe that this is all to do with what you've posted through your email service?
Well, first of all, I have to say I do not represent the views of Glasgow University on fracking or any other subject. And in fact, no academics can represent a view of a university. They only speak, presumably, out of expertise in their own subject area, speaking personally. They do not represent a supposed corporate view. Now, the falsity in the university statement is that they were saying it was a routine review. Well, this is nonsense. The termination happened abruptly and without subsequent explanation 3 days after I had published a paper on fracking in the UK in a respectable European science journal. So I think there's no coincidence there. And if we go back to 2014, I received out of the blue a letter from the university court stating, "A number of my academic colleagues are concerned that the views which you have expressed, particularly on the subject of shale gas, are not consistent with the work which is currently being undertaken at the university."
Now that's an interesting point, isn't it? Just explain to us, why do you think the university would have an interest in fracking?
Because certain of its members are trying to raise money from the industry. I know for a fact from Freedom of Information release of emails that one group at Glasgow University were in long talks with Quadrilla from August 2014. And in June of last year, 2 Quadrilla staff flew to Glasgow for talks with these members of the university. Now, I presume they were not talking about the price of coffee in Brazil. The university may have been trying to drum up some sort of research funding from Quadrilla, who are, of course, the main company involved in trying to frack in Lancashire, and it's a company of whom I've been highly critical on technical grounds.
Okay, now, but of course, we've got to bear in mind you left the university in 1998. You still think, therefore, you should have an active university email service?
Yes, I was granted this right in perpetuity in compensation for loss of office when they closed down the Earth Science Department.
So that's where you think you can take legal action. Is that what you're going to do next, then?
Exactly. I hope I don't have to take legal action, because the only people who benefit from all that, of course, are in the long run are the lawyers. I hope I can just persuade the university by rational logic, and perhaps by embarrassing them a bit or shaming them, into giving my rights of access back. And then I can carry on arguing about the pros and cons of fracking or whatever in the proper academic ways with other Glasgow University staff and other academics elsewhere. To try to cut me off, silence and terminate my research work in this way is a very low tactic, I think, to use, and the university should be ashamed of themselves.
Emeritus Professor of Geophysics, David Smythe. Professor David Smythe, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Just to remind you, there are plenty more stories about